Hey Scorpio, what's going on? We're here with your reading, what you need to know for July. Welcome. All right, first card that we have out is the Empress. And Judgment. And the Lovers, okay. I'm seeing you feel like good enough to be in the place to look at something with honesty, like very, very honest self-reflection. This looks like a partnership is involved. Starting off with the Empress is important because it shows you being in a space where you're feeling at your best. And then when you're looking at something, it feels like, you know, when you're not feeling great and then you're looking at something and you sort of look at it through that lens of like not feeling at your best. And so if you were like feeling better the next day, you'd be like, wow, I can't believe I made that call, or I was looking at it like that way because I don't feel like that right now. The Empress is like a reassurance of you looking at something when you're in your like best state possible. So it feels like totally aligned with like your core and how you really perceive things, and alignment with your values, and you properly like showing up in a way that's like parallel to that. Having Judgment is going to be you looking at something and being like, I want to break this down. I want to understand this. Having Empress here can be like through the lens of what my values are. I want to break this down. What are you breaking down? A relationship with the Lovers here. And there can also be like choices that come up too with the Lovers as well. Empress is also that space where you're like, when you know what it is that you need, so you're clear on that, like this is important to me or this is not so important to me, like those types of things. So being able to look at something and judge it from that place of like, this aligns with what's important to me, or I need to communicate this, or like this isn't reflective of my values, like those types of things. It feels like that type of situation here. Having Three of Wands next to the Lovers feels like this has to do with things at a distance. So this can be like how a relationship is going to look in the future, or what the future holds for a relationship, or decisions that are being made now, or things that you're trying to understand now or break down now that have to do with things later on. So you may not be figuring out anything it feels like this is a projection into the future. So rather than needing to look at things and be like, are they aligned right now, which I'm imagining that they are, it feels like looking at it and asking yourself, are they going to be like that later on too? Like, are they going to sort of have that similar trajectory later down the line, like in the future? Where are things going? What choices are being made now? Like that type of stuff. So make sure you're not doing anything that you feel like isn't right for you. This can also be about sustainability as well. That's coming through. The sustainability of a relationship. A relationship can be with a person, but it can also be with like an activity or something that you care about, like something that you do often. Ooh. Okay. Tough one, Scorpio. As I said before, the Empress is you when you're feeling at your best. And I'm seeing you want to communicate when you are feeling your best. It's like there's something that you have to say, something that you want to get off your chest. Can be like, I'm feeling like this, and so I want to let them know. But I'm seeing Seven of Swords, and it looks like it's going to bump into the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is you moving towards someone with an intention to communicate something. You're like, I've been thinking about my feelings and I want to say this to you. But then Seven of Swords, about to clash with that, is the part of you, it's like the shadow, it's connected with your mental energy, and this is something where from the heart you want to speak, but then the shadow comes up and like scrambles it all around and is like, yeah, tell them now. And it's something where it's like, that wasn't what I was trying to say, or wasn't really what I meant, but you can feel like from a psychological standpoint, this is something that sort of scrambles the message. Where does this come from? I'm seeing the devil here. So having Seven of Swords is your shadow coming up and being like, hey, like, it's time for me to have like my part in this situation, like, let me do my thing here, which that's just the nature of the shadow, you know, just saying things where it hasn't been fully brought to light, so it can be these like half-conscious thoughts that are being communicated or getting in the way of what you're like really trying to say from a heart space, where it's like my heart is saying one thing and now my head is saying this other thing, but it's like your head is connected with the Seven of Swords, which is like kind of a confusion or something that's like not fully been brought to light, so there's not full awareness of it. So it can be that part of you where when you sort of take a step back, you're like, I was kind of sabotaging when I did that. It'll feel like that type of thing, or that was coming from a very unconscious place when I did that. Having judgment above it is looking at that and being like, oh, I see what's going on here. Now, having the devil be connected with Seven of Swords, we have Knight of Cups, which is like, this is what I'm feeling in my heart, this is what I want to communicate. Having the devil is like anything that you be holding on to where you don't want to let it be how it actually is. It's like, I need this thing. It can be like a very suffocating type of energy that comes from a place of attachment, and attachment to how you want things to be. And even if things are great, devil and Seven of Swords can be like, oh, you might say this because you never know, you could lose that, or it, you know, it tells you scary thoughts. The devil is also connected with fears, so there can be something that's related to fears coming up within a partnership that you're experiencing. And then the part of you that this is like a half-cooked idea that is the Seven of Swords is coming up and being like, let's just say this, you know. But then it's something where when you take the time to address this, which judgment is about breaking that down and being like, okay, before I say anything about this, let me really find out where this is coming from. If the Seven of Swords goes unchecked, it's something that can very much impact things with you and another person in a way that you may not want it to, and not because it's coming from a genuinely conscious place, but because of something coming from an unconscious place that's born from attachment. But the type of attachment, it's not attachment to how things are in a given moment. It's like the fears associated with, like, what if this changes, or what if that happens, and I want this to stay the same, you know. It's feeling like not allowing something to have its organic, natural progression. It's like wanting to freeze something in time, but nothing can really be frozen in time. But it's that part of us that really wants to be able to do that. And then the fears that set in with this like knowledge that things are going to change, but then this feeling that like change is inherently bad, you know, like that's what the devil comes through and says. And the Seven of Swords, these are shadow thoughts. So I'm seeing it be something psychologically that's being worked through. This feels, again, specifically related to a relationship of yours, a close relationship of yours. And about not just things now, because you may be like, I'm chill with where things are now. This is about me worrying about things later down the line. But again, like, it's coming from a place where you end up saying something that's not genuinely how you're feeling from the heart. This is like your fears speaking through you. And you get to take the time to check and see, I can check that right now, or I can say that to them, and then you don't know how that's going to impact your relationship. But this is one of those things that will be like a self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing, where it's like the devil comes through and tells you should be scared of something, and this could happen and that could happen, and then you start freaking out, and then you say something, and then it's like you can't take it back. So this feels like, rather than like, what is the rush? needing to do all of this. In the beginning, I'm seeing like a very pure intention to be like, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I want to share. And then I'm seeing it be diluted by the shadow, by the Seven of Swords and the Devil, which is like the fear and the half-cooked ideas and the subconscious energy that's coming up. Judgment over top of it is putting you back in a position of power to know that you can see through this. And if you do honest self-reflection, you will see through this, and then you're not going to do something that you're not fully aware of and then be communicating that and passing it off as how you actually feel when it's not how you actually feel. Because I'm seeing how you actually feel over here, and you feel empowered. And you feel like sharing from a place of like, I know myself and I understand myself, and I'm going to communicate in a way that's congruent. So this is definitely like an internal battle that's going on here. Judgment, again, is this reminder that you don't need to be played by your shadow. You don't need to be played by your fears, that you can look at that and you can read through that. You can break that down. You have the power to do that. Especially too, like wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, you're ruled by Pluto. Pluto has an uncanny ability to be able to break something down and get right to the bottom of it, to see clearly exactly what's going on. Like Pluto is about investigating until you get to the truth of it, rather than doing something, again, that's like superficially motivated, where you do something and then you're like, that was just my shadow unchecked, like running around, and then I was the mouthpiece for that fear. And then you're bringing that energy into your relationship. I want to specify again, it doesn't feel like these are things that you may currently be worrying about. I'm seeing Three of Wands. So this can be like fears related to the future. So things can be fine right now. And it feels too like when you're in touch with yourself and feeling at your best, you know that things are fine. But when you start worrying about things, like when the Seven of Swords comes up and it's like, maybe this is happening, maybe that, Seven of Swords is like that paranoia of things, that wondering, like, do I need to be worried about this other person? What's going to happen? Like, maybe they're not telling me everything. And the Devil is like, wow, they're really falling for it, like this narrative of fear. And Judgment is you being Pluto in this scenario, looking at it and being like, I see what's going on here and I'm not going to take the bait. But it can be something that, like, this is a really real thing that's happening when you're experiencing it, and it can make things very difficult. But you want to ask yourself, what's motivating you? What's motivating your interactions with this person? Like, is it coming from a place where you're like, I'm feeling at my best and I'm communicating with you from this place? Or is it like, I'm so like scared right now and this is going to happen, and then you're accusing the other person, or like whatever else is happening, even if it's just in your head, and then your communication is tinged with that, and it's like you solely bringing that energy in. If this was the other person, I would let you know, but I'm just seeing this be your energy. It feels just like a psychological thing that's going on here. That's, again, like born from fear and attachment. Perpetuating that, associated with future stuff, where things are going. I will say this too, like Knight of Cups and Seven of Swords can be like, I want to share how I'm feeling when I'm feeling good about things, but then when I start worrying, it's like wanting to take that back or wanting to say something else, and then being worried, like, are they going to do something to me? It's that type of stuff where then you're not speaking from the heart anymore. It's like, as soon as I'm feeling connected with something and I want to be vulnerable and share that and let them know how I'm feeling, I have this part of me that gets activated and comes out and is like, maybe we should do something to ruin it, or like, maybe it's not as good as you think it is, like those types of things. But again, this is like looking at it and being like, wait, when I'm grounded, I actually feel really good about this situation. It's when I start getting too in my head, or when my subconscious stuff starts coming out, or when my trauma starts coming out, And then I think that I'm reliving these situations. Any variation of that type of thing that's going on, that would then be like bleeding into your relationship. But again, coming from an unconscious place. So this is something that like you have to pay attention to catch this. Because it doesn't want to be caught, you know, like the shadow is a very sneaky energy. And so like you'll be saying something and it's like, now say this too. And you have to like be paying attention to what's motivating what you're saying. So being deliberate with what you're communicating and where it's coming from. I want to say this too. If I were seeing anything going on where it was like, you need to pay attention to this, or like this is a red flag, or like blah 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 about the other person's energy, 100% I would be telling you this. It's not the other person's energy. Because what I'm seeing is that like things are fine with the Empress and the Knight of Cups. It's like when the shadow thoughts start coming up, that's when you think like maybe something's going on, like that type of thing. But I'm seeing like it's all like this self-generated thing. That's where it's coming from. Like it isn't something that's happening like in the reality of your relationship outside of like your internal narrative. And when you're grounded, I feel like you know that too. And that's why judgment is here. Judgment is saying, like, if you really do honest self-reflection, you'll know where this is coming from. Can also be a place of insecurity as well. Yes. So don't confuse that with your intuition, because it's not. Your intuition isn't going to be telling you spooky stories and have you out here feeling paranoid. This may be something that goes on between Venus and Moon within your chart, or Pluto and Moon within your chart, or Pluto and Venus within your chart. Who am I seeing here? We have Venus, Pluto, Gemini. Okay. Gemini also too, like thinking, it never turns off, all of these things that are coming up, but it can be, feels like checking in and seeing which maybe thoughts and feelings, this feels more like a thought space though, are valuable that you actually want to pay attention to versus what's coming up and you don't need to allow to see the light of day, you know? I do see you trying to figure things out about the future, and it looks like that's what's motivating this, or like tuning into that, of like where things are going. Starting with the Empress and ending with the High Priestess, these are very, very feminine energies that has to do with your receptivity. So this is connected with like what you're tuning into, what you're picking up on, and then what you're expressing based off of that. And it feels like getting into a place where you're in a pure space, so you are properly interpreting what you're receiving. Feelings, making progress. You're making progress communicating your feelings. Also to feelings coming up about where things are going, especially like in the future, like at a distance. So not just stuff right now, there's like a focus on future related things from what I'm seeing. Spend time checking in with this part of your energy. Also too, I will say this, with the Lovers and the Devil, there can be a part of you that may be, what's it called? It's like the difference between giving yourself what you need versus feeling like you need something outside of yourself to satisfy that, but in like a bit of a twisted way. It's like a distorted way with the Devil, because like your relationship does have a purpose, But the devil can come up and be telling you that you need to get certain things from the relationship, but it can be stuff that you're not already giving to yourself. So the devil can be coming up and actually, in a distorted way, be communicating with you that you have certain needs that you need to meet for yourself. Because the devil will talk about not needs that somebody else needs to meet, those are your own needs that you need to meet for yourself. And so it can be an indication of that, where, oh, this word is on the tip of my tongue. It's maybe it's not meant to come through then if it's not coming through, but it's basically the sentiment of you, here it is, you resourcing something for yourself versus outsourcing something and feeling like you need to get it, but then that being the thing that would be actually not allowing you to show up in the way that you want to within your relationship. Seven of Swords and the Lovers will be like things that you do that would be damaging to the relationship. And Judgment and the Devil is looking at like what it is that you're seeking and recognizing that you need to give those things to yourself. Sometimes we do have needs that like a relationship is going to meet for us. I'm not talking about that. The devil is communicating with you about stuff that you need to do for yourself, or even stuff that you could be like, that's important to me, but when you look deeper, you're like, when I have that, that doesn't actually give me a sense of security. So it's about breaking these things down and seeing where this energy is coming from so you can understand it better. And also too, so it's not doing things that are destructive to your relationship as well, especially from an unconscious place. Because this is something where, like, if you were detached from this situation, which is sort of what this is calling for, if you were really looking at this, you'd be able to see, but it can be difficult when we're in the middle of something to have a level head and to really look. So that's what's being encouraged here. Can also spend time to breaking down like your emotions as well and what's coming through with that as well. Okay, I'm seeing Ace of Swords on the bottom of the deck, so it looks like you're clear on this. So that's what we have. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.